Well, greetings humans and welcome back to Kingfisher Carving. This is Alfred and I want to invite you to carve with me. So grab a block of wood and a knife and we'll be creating a whittle ranger here today. It's inspired by Aragorn from the Lord of the Rings. Take a nice good look at this guy. It's very simple, and though he be whittle, he be great. So we'll talk about greatness, we will talk about books, and we will have a nice relaxing carve. So today we're carving Aragorn. This is number 4 of our series. We already have the wizard, the dwarf, and the hobbit up on the channel, so be sure to check those guys out. I love these guys. This is probably the 7th set of these that I've made. The rest of them I've sold, sadly, so this is the only one I currently still have. But we'll put them over here so they can watch the process. Knife-wise, you can do virtually all of this with one knife. So my primary knife will be this flex cut. I also have this new Beckwith Forge knife that I think will work really well for what we're doing today. We're using 1 1/4 inch basswood. We're going to cut it here. I made all the markings on the wrong piece. So it's about 2 3/4 inches tall.
I'll start by just making that.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of rough in for the head. So the face is about here. We measured him out. I can put the measurements up on the screen, but we'll go roughly here. Now we're not going to come in all the way because we want to have a little bit here, but we're definitely going to cut in from the front and do some kind of sweeping cuts up this way. That's the idea. For those who are new, these cuts are really kind of just a classic whittling type of cut. If you just sat by the fire with a knife, these push cuts, sweep cuts. I've been trying to make big cuts lately, partly for the sake of time, and partly because I've heard people, especially in the flat plane carving community, say better carvers make fewer cuts. Then I saw just a short from Van Kelly recently saying that three chips are better than 1. And sometimes you end up sacrificing a good cut trying to make too many cuts, or too few cuts. So that's an interesting concept. All right, so we're cutting off some of the wood here to try to make the top of the head more narrow. But we're leaving some at the base here because, like I said, he's going to be wearing this elven gifted robe, and we want him to have that. It's relatively quiet in the house today. I have my wife and children are out at the library, so I figured it was a chance for me to get some carving done. I've been thinking about history a lot. I'm listening to a long audio book, a book called Dominion by Tom Holland. He was one of the guys from The Rest is History, and it's kind of a history of Christianity. It's been very interesting to hear, just like large, thousands of years covered in 30 hours or whatever of an audiobook. I'll tell you what, anytime you study history, it can be discouraging. History is not the most pleasant of topics. All right, so now we're coming down to kind of make where the beard is going to go. 2 3/4 inches. But yeah, reading history has been at times discouraging, but then at times really inspiring. Which makes me think of our buddy Aragorn, because Aragorn is a fictional king, and he's the type of king that everyone wants. Like if you were to have a king, this is the type of king you would want. He fights against evil. He's brave. He heals people. Like in the books, he has like a healing ability. He knows like what herbs to use when. They show some of that in the movies. When Frodo gets stabbed. All right, so we've come down and we've roughed in here for the beard. So you can kind of see. And then we're taking off just this piece here and here. But yeah, Aragorn is the type of king everyone would want, the type of ruler that I think everyone kind of longs for. And yet in real life, we don't see rulers like that come around too often. And cut even more down here. I couldn't go super deep on my initial carve because my wrist is still a bit injured, so. But that's where we're at now. Now we can take some off the top of his face here. But yeah, Aragorn is great. At the beginning, when the hobbits first meet him, they're afraid of him, which I always enjoy those early scenes. They think he's Strider, some good for nothing, semi-homeless guy who just goes around terrorizing hobbits. All right, we'll draw out here. So the top of his cloak is going to be here. We're going to go back about to here, we'll say. We can cut a little more off this before we go, to give a little more shape towards the face. See, we just cut off this and this. But the hobbits, when they first meet him, are just terrified that he's this, dangerous character. And he ends up to be the opposite. I mean, he's dangerous if you're a really bad guy. But if you are good, he is great. All right, so we have the top done. We're going to come and take a cut down along the side here to shape the face a little bit. Then we'll do the nose next. Probably going to want to cut even more up first. Alright, then we're going to come right here at the base of the chin. I'm really having trouble with the lighting today. I think because these really small characters are hard to see correctly. Alright, so the base of the chin, right along there, we're doing going in and then coming down at an angle. So there's a little shape coming to the face. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Some more of these cuts, giving shape to the face. Yeah, just taking your knife and drawing that line there. You don't really want to do it twice like I just did. I was doing that to kind of show it, and then realized that. But if you have to do it twice, that's fine. It just will leave some cleaning up at the end of your carve. All right, this is where we're at so far. With the outline, the idea of a person's face. So yeah, Aragorn is this initially terrifying character. Then you find out that not only is he a good guy, not only is he like the rightful king of the biggest country in the world, but he's super humble. And he spent his last, 40 years or something, just watching over hobbits and keeping evil at bay, watching over people who don't even know that there's danger out there, so they can live a peaceful life. And what he gets in response is their judgment and fear. But he's even okay with that because he understands that they would feel that way. I mean, how would they know any better? All right, now I'm just kind of taking off more around the head area, giving shape to the back, shoulders. I don't want it to look like a block of wood. All right, I also cut in here and here to give shape to the face. All right, now we got to get the nose ready. For the nose, we'll come down pretty far. It looks like what, about halfway down. If you want to sketch it on, you can. I think that's longer than I want the nose to be. Go a little higher up. Then after the nose, we'll be doing the beard. That's kind of where we're going. It does not currently look tough, which he has to look, because he's Aragorn. Strider. All right, so we'll just do a couple stop cuts here. You can go across this whole length of the face because the nose is going to be the part that's sticking out the furthest. All right, so once you have the bottom of the nose, you're going to come across here, and you're going slightly outward. Make sure you have enough of a stop up here. Push down with your knife. And get a whole chip out. Now you have half a nose. Do the same thing on this side. I'm going to come up with a paring cut right here. Get that whole chip out. Now our hero has a nose. We're not doing eyes with this guy. The eyes are implied under the mask. Gives it kind of a gnome quality. Now to give a little shape to the nose. Got there. And then we'll try to make it so you can actually see this. Just a little bit of wood off of the inside of the nose. All right. This is what we have so far. Don't love the lighting, but we're doing our best. Okay. Now for the beard. We're coming down here on a diagonal from the nostril. And then we're going to go up. It's like a V there. Down, and then up. You can see it there. Down, and up. And once you've done that, you can cut down, which gives some definition to the cheekbones. So yeah, I've been reading history, thinking about the world, mostly the past, not really the current state of the world. But then when I think of the current state of the world, it's kind of how we got here historically. And when I think of the idea of like a good king, like an Aragorn style king, and how amazing that would be. But I don't know if we would want Aragorn as king. He's the humility, the patience. I think he would make a lot of people mad. Like refusing to. He's waiting. He spends the whole book waiting. I'm trying to give shape to this side of the face, and the wood is not participating. All right, so that's what we have now. Half a face. Look at the other half. Once again, we're going down on this angle. We're going up. Then we're coming down on the corner. Cut out that chip. Going up to cut out that part of the face. All right, that's our Aragorn face. We'll make a few changes later, but I like to move on. As far as the mouth and beard, we could do the mouth really quickly. For this guy, I just did a simple cut of a cross. And I don't want him smiling. He's going to give like a half frown because he means business right now. And then underneath, just slightly, Taking off a little bit of wood. So this is its current look. We'll even out the face a little more as we go. Sorry, I said I was done with the face, but I can't. I can't let it stay like that. Get a few more details done. But yeah, one thing that movies and books and art can do is shape our imagination for what a good leader looks like. And I think a lot of people would then say, oh, we have great leaders, or we don't have great leaders, and then try to apply that to the macro national level, which obviously matters. I mean, the decisions made by leaders matter. But what I'm more interested in is applying it to myself. All right, so I realized that I made a mistake here. And this side I had gone straight back, and this side I had gone up. And I can't add wood, so this side has to change. Just play around with your faces. You can just take a 1x1 stick, carve like 10 faces in it, until you get how you want. But yeah, oftentimes we think, oh, well, we have bad leaders or we have good leaders, and that's why, I feel the way I do. But in reality, it's like, how can you lead yourself? How can you have greatness in your own life? I mean, Aragorn, his patience, his waiting, his ability to be a humble servant who sacrifices for others, even when he rightfully could claim things for himself. I mean, that's something that if you do that in your life, you're going to have a better life. I mean, just as a dad, if I have the mindset of, well, other people are causing me problems, and I rightfully, make all this money that I make, and therefore should be able to spend it on myself, or, people owe me respect. If that's my mindset, then I'm going to be miserable. But if I have the mindset of Aragorn, where he's like, I'm the king of the known world, basically. Not all the known world, but much of it. And instead of sitting on my throne, I'm going to help a little hobbit. If that's the mindset, then you're in good shape. All right, we still have a lot of wood on the back, so we're going to just take some wood off of the corners just to make it not a block of wood anymore. I'm always interested in how we like to, that's what Van Kelly was talking about in that little short, how when you take those big chunks, you sometimes split the wood. I don't mind splitting the wood there because it's all got to come off. I'm trying to give a little shape to the bottom there. But we do also want the shoulders to seem to have a little shape too. The other cool thing about Aragorn is he's a lore master. Like, he knows the history better than anyone. And I think that's really cool as a leader. I do know some leaders in organizations like that who really care about the history of the organization beyond just like, I'm in charge, do what I say. They're like, no, this is where we came from. And that really can be inspiring for people. So if you're a leader, that can matter. And sometimes people roll their eyes, depending on what it is. One thing that just came to mind is the Chicago Bears football team. I'm a Bears fan. And see that sound, for those who are new, see how the grain is going like this? You can kind of see. The grain is going like that, and we're at the top of the grain. So as I cut like this, I'm cutting the end grain, and it's not a pleasant sound. But yeah, the Bears are very proud of their history as a team because they're so old. They don't win a lot, so when you don't win the current, you have to rely on history. Although this year it's been different. But I did hear them say that before the Packers game recently, George McCaskey, one of the owners, met with the whole team and talked about the history of the team and of the rivalry and what it signified. And to have leaders who care about that history is kind of cool, because then people feel like they're fighting for something beyond themselves. And Aragorn knows the lore. He's the expert. He's also pretty old, so that helps. All right, so we've got the feet roughed in. We've got the face pretty much done. We'll have to take off a little bit here and here later, but overall he's looking all right. So we're going to go a little deeper on the feet to start to give him his boots. And then we'll cut the robe in. Not robe, cloak, whatever you want to call it. So first we'll go a little bit deeper here. But yeah, this morning I was reading a book called Against, what is it called? I have it right here. I brought it with me in case I talked about it. It's Paul Kingsnorth, Against the Machine. And there's a section where he's talking about, and I haven't finished this. I don't know if I even like this book at this point, so I'm not necessarily recommending it. I can leave a comment down below when I finish it to say if I'm recommending it or not. But in it, he's talking about kind of, as a society, we've forgotten a lot of our morals, and we've tried to replace them with just like technology or consumerism, things like that. So as like Europe, he's talking about specifically, became less Christian, the 17th and 18th centuries, they left a gap with little to take its place. And then you have this no sense of what greatness is in a moral way. All right, so I just cut in through the middle there to make the boots. Then I flip it and cut down, down, take the chip off, and that's how you get your boots. But in it, he talks about Stalin and Hitler and all those dictators from the 20th century and how they came into a vacuum, like this society that used to have a certain sense of what greatness looked like and what morality looked like. And then they cast those things off. And now you have these truly evil men who end up focusing just on money, basically, and power. And he said that, he quoted this French author who said that, who wrote like during World War II, that what we need to do now as a society is make it so, redefine our sense of greatness. So that no one would ever see a Hitler or a Stalin as great again. I thought that was interesting, a good point. All right, now at the end of the shoes, so you can see we've got the boots kind of started. We're going to add a line down here, which will be where the cloak comes down. On both sides. But how do we redefine what greatness is if we've lost kind of some of our cultural things? You know, like we don't agree on things as a culture. Whether it's and King's North is saying that with the loss of Christianity, people no longer had like this kind of guiding principle. So anything becomes open. But I mean, how do we have a sense of greatness? Because people are going to want to be great. Let's say as a young man, I wanted to be great. And where did I find my sense of greatness? Now, I grew up in a family that spent a lot of time at church, so I took that model. But I also had good stories like The Lord of the Rings. And man, I thought Aragorn was so cool when I was younger. All right, so we have our sense of where the cloak opening is going to go. We have a giant V that goes from here and down to here. So we're just going to carve in, facing inward, a line. Actually, here, I'll switch to my other little knife. You see that line? I go all the way down, if you can, down to the shoe line that we already made. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. But yeah, I'd like to say that my sense of what being like a heroic person, a heroic man, that sense came partly through this Hollywood movie, Lord of the Rings, and later by reading the books. I think that's why, like, my wife gets annoyed when the trend of making the hero the bad guy into the good guy, like the retelling of the tale. And movies like The Joker or things like that, I kind of just, like, I'm okay with a tragedy where someone's flaws, they're interesting, but they're flawed, and that leads to their demise. But when you kind of take someone who's bent on evil, you turn them into your hero, I don't think that's a great move. There's enough evil people that we can look at in life that I don't think we need more models, unless they're clear, like a tragedy. Like when you read a Greek tragedy or a Shakespearean tragedy, it's their flaws that lead to their demise. It seems like now we like them because of their flaws. I think some people might argue that Aragorn, or characters like him who are truly great and moral and good, they might see that as boring at a certain point. But I find him fascinating, partly because he has this love that he feels like he can't pursue because of his vocation, his calling. All right, so we have the cloak. We have all of this set up. I'm just going to carve. Take a break, go back to the back, clean this up a little bit. back is shaped a little bit better. Okay, so we need to have his shirt come down, his pants, shoes, and beard. I mean, we are actually almost done. It's like I said, this is a very easy, very simple carve. Should have drawn that out first. But you can always take off more wood. You just can't put wood back on. So yeah, if you think that the goodness is boring, I don't think it is, because it's so hard. It's so challenging to be good. I mean, to wait decades for what's rightfully yours. In the book, he won't even go into the city. Like, he stays out of the city in which he'll rule, because he's waiting for that moment, even after he's led them to victory in battle. He cares more about the peace of the city and the people than he does of his own kind of kingdom. And yet he knows that he is the rightful king and that it will be best under him. So he's not humble to the sense of like, well, I won't take the charge. I think that's what happens to a lot of good people. They don't want to jump into leadership because of that sense of humility. And then you get the people who want it for the wrong reasons who jump in. But Aragorn shows us someone who both waits and jumps in, but he takes his time. All right, so now for the legs, we're going to come down here, put a deep cut down the middle.